Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Hope you're doing well. So we've got a lot to talk about in today's live stream. Right now, this very moment, we have a critical breakout from a technical perspective in the silver price, okay? Also, we have some news out of India, a policy that India just made regarding silver. It's not an exaggeration to say that it is going to change the way that global silver markets work, and probably in a way that is very favorable to the stackers. Okay, it's a huge announcement. We're going to get into that. We've got a lot to cover because we're also going to talk about how silver is breaking out in China and what that means for Western markets. We've got some geopolitical news to cover, and we're going to talk about some ways you can get some free gold and silver. So a lot of good stuff. Stick around. We're just going to work our way through this, right? And if you want to learn how you can sign up to potentially win some free gold or silver, well, actually just silver in this case, then check this out.
For the first time ever, SD Bullion is giving away 2 monster boxes of silver coins, but not just any silver. Learn more today at sdbullion.com/sweepstakes.
All right, so you can check out SD Bullion with the link down in the description. Now, just to preface this is a chart we've looked at a few times, but this is something I posted on X on February 20th, and I had discussed the breakout target, $92 for this breakout from a inverse head and shoulders bottom. Now, I think that this was correct, that we were breaking out from this pattern. However, I think that $92 was not the ceiling or the breakout target, something I kind of got wrong with my technical analysis. But in fact, what we need to see is silver above $92 to initiate a much larger move higher. And, you know, what did we get today? Well, silver's at 93 bucks and change. So let's talk about that. I had originally drawn this purple zone of resistance a tad too high, but upon reflection, you know, thinking about it a few times, I think that this should have been drawn here, right? So this candle right here from Wednesday, February 4th, that was following this big smackdown that we got in the silver price, right? And then we got this rally. That was the high that was put in. And you can see that there's this long wick here. So we opened here around, what was the open that day? Right around 90 bucks. It got as high as 92, and then it ended up closing, under 90, around 89 bucks. But what I've done here is I've kind of updated this zone to represent the top part of the wick. And you'll notice that this breakout has continued. I mean, on February 20th, when I was posting about that, I think silver was around like 83 bucks. And now we're up over 90. But we are likely to get a close above this purple zone of resistance, which is very, very bullish, right? Once we get a close above here, and probably going to happen today, we're at 92.98 right now. So I think we just need to close well above 92.20. That's the key level here. Anything could happen, I guess. We got almost a little over an hour left in trading. But when we talk about the other news here, I think that will, give you some reason to have a bullish disposition towards silver here. But this is a big deal, right? Silver is up 5.3% right now. Silver futures up 7.14%. Look at the rest of the precious metals complex. You got gold back up over $5,200. Platinum is up 5.69% today. Now, the miners, interestingly, they're all in the green. They actually started the day in the red. It was a little weird, but they're lagging, but that's okay. That may mean that investors are not convinced that this silver rally is going to stick. But if we do get this close above 92.20, I think it's going to be a short ride back up to over $100 silver. That is coming very soon. So let's talk about what's going on in China right now, and then we'll get to the Indian news, because the China update is brief, but basically silver's having a very strong rally over in China. Right now, according to the most recent data, silver is trading on the Shanghai Gold Exchange at 23,159 yuan per kilo of silver. So I've got the math done here for 23,120. So what are we at right now? I guess it's moved a little since the last time I did the math. 23,159. Let's just update this. I'll give you the updated price, because this is a very bullish sign for silver as well. We got these premiums in China exploding on silver. So that gives us a price of about $3,376.86 per kilo. If we do the math on that, that comes out to over $105 per ounce. So even though silver is up significantly in the West, right now trading around 93 bucks. In China, it's at 105. So what we're seeing is these premiums continue to expand. We talked about this in the most recent live stream. I think when we did it, yesterday, the price of silver was about $10 higher in China. Now it's about $12 higher. So even though it's rallying in the West, it's rallying faster on the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And this is exactly what we saw at the end of 2025, leading up to silver's, blow-off move to 120. Well, this time around, a lot of indicators have been reset. Silver's massively overbought status has been reset. And now I think we're getting ready to take out new highs, certainly this year, but probably sooner rather than later. And we're going to get to the India news in just one moment, but I want to draw your attention to two other factors on the silver chart, which are very bullish. One, we got a bullish MACD cross here on the 4-hour MACD. The histogram is flipping green. That's a good sign, right? The 4-hour tends to be a leading indicator. But you'll notice that this is occurring above the center line of the MACD, which makes it a somewhat weaker signal. But let's go to the one-day chart, right? So if we go to the one-day chart, you can see that here on Tuesday, we actually got a bullish MACD cross, and this occurred below the center line, okay? The MACD flipped, the histogram flipped green. The difference between the MACD and the signal line are expanding. That's a very bullish alignment for the MACD. And to show you what a bullish sign this is, a confirmation that we're in the midst of a significant breakout here, let's talk about the last time this happened, right? To zoom out here, to find a time when you got one of these bullish MACD crosses below the center line. I'm going to really expand this to kind of show you what I'm talking about. Now, you see, we get a couple here where the MACD crosses the signal line. It's above the center line. Yeah, that's always a good sign, but it's a bigger deal when it occurs below the center line and you're coming from a overbought, or rather an oversold level. And you'll notice that the last time this happened was in April of 2025, following the tariff-related sell-off that occurred that month. Okay, so the last time this happened was in April 2025. What kind of a move did that kick off in silver? At that time, silver was around $30, right? Last time we got a MACD cross below the center line on the daily chart is around 32 bucks actually. And so then we saw silver run from $32 to $120, right? That's a pretty big move for a very short period of time for that type of move. So now this signal is occurring again right as we break out from a very bullish technical pattern. I mean, I'm just saying, from a technical standpoint, it's hard to imagine a chart that looks better than silver's right now. Not to mention, the long-term chart, right? The long-term cup and handle chart. This is the 3-month chart of silver. It's a big cup and handle. The handle is made up of a smaller cup and handle, which is still more than a decade pattern, right? The 2011 high here. And we just broke out of that recently. So I've been saying this ever since we got that sharp correction, when silver fell all the way down to 64 bucks, that was a huge buying opportunity, and it's starting to look to me like that is the case, right? Things are shaping up here very bullish for silver. Now, let's talk about India. And appropriately enough, I found this story here on the Times of India. But this is really huge. And I think that this is not getting enough attention in the silver community and in the mainstream. I mean, let me know if you've heard about this story already. Maybe you have if you follow this type of media a lot. But they're not talking about this on CNBC. But this is a headline from yesterday. Capital Markets Regulator, Securities and Exchange Board of India, that's the SEBI, on Thursday revised the valuation methodology for physical gold and silver held by mutual funds, mandating the use of polled spot prices published by recognized stock exchanges for determining their value. Now, you read that, it doesn't immediately necessarily make you think, oh, this is a huge thing, but let's talk about what this actually means. So, here's the quote from SEBI. From their circular, I guess that's like a publication. It has been decided that with effect from April 1st, 2026, the mutual funds shall value physical gold and silver by using the polled spot prices published by the recognized stock exchanges, which are used for settlement of physically delivered gold and silver derivatives contracts. Now, previously, or actually up until now, up until April 1st, so this hasn't gone into effect yet, it's going into effect in about a month, gold and silver exchange traded funds, so this is in India, value their holdings based on the AM fixing prices of the LBMA, the London Bullion Market Association. So India using the London price of silver. But now, under the revised norms, the spot price is used for settlement for physically delivered bullion derivatives contracts on Indian stock exchanges will form the basis for pricing such holdings, replacing the earlier benchmark-linked approach. So India, for valuation of their ETFs, their mutual funds, basically their markets, they're not going to use the London price anymore. Probably a good idea, right? Why would you use an obviously manipulated silver price when you have a perfectly good market in India, which has derivatives contracts for physically delivered gold and silver? And, to be fair, I'm not that familiar with the Indian market, but if it's anything like the Shanghai Gold Exchange, oftentimes the contracts traded there are actually delivered in physical metal. It's not like in the West where 90% of contracts all just get settled in fiat paper. It's more of like a market where actual metal trades hands. I know, crazy idea, but this is huge, right? This is huge on multiple levels. But the biggest thing, it shows that the manipulated Western silver pricing mechanisms are being abandoned. And India's a pretty important country, right? They're some of the biggest investors in gold and silver. First of all, I think the Indian public is actually like the biggest holder of gold, more than any central bank. I think they have something like, 20 tons of silver in their possession. This is just from memory, but they have a lot of gold there. A lot of gold. They have a lot of silver too. Long history of not trusting fiat currency, and it sounds like they don't trust these Western markets anymore, which again, probably, pretty smart not to trust that. So, for everybody who has always, been kind of a voice in the background in this community saying like gold and silver are manipulated, so why would I ever buy gold and silver? Well, gold and silver manipulation is not destined to last forever, right? It's no way that it can, because when you manipulate the price of something that's a critical industrial commodity that gets consumed, when you manipulate it lower, then you create supply-demand imbalances, like exactly what we're seeing in the gold and silver market right now. We have these huge imbalances in silver. We've got hundreds of millions of ounces being consumed beyond what is produced annually. And, when you think about that, it shows you why the silver price is likely headed much higher, right? That's why we have this huge run up in silver, because the supply-demand fundamentals cannot remain out of balance forever, right? So this is a big deal. The fact that in India, they are no longer going to be trusting London prices. They're going to set prices themselves. Expect more of this moving forward. Now, we got to cover some geopolitical news here, but I wanted to discuss with you very briefly how you can get your hands on some free gold and silver. So these are some Goldback. This is a Goldback limited early release Goldback, which if you look on eBay right now, these are selling for $200 plus. A graded silverback, new thing from Goldback. These, if you look on eBay, are selling for, I think, $90 to $100 a piece. And you can get these for free if you own a business and you sign up to accept Goldbacks, okay? If you go to the Goldback website here, click right here. If you want to know what you're doing, you're going to be clicking Pay with Goldbacks. That takes you to this business locator, right? So you can actually be one of these businesses on the Goldback locator. And I mean, look how many there are, right? You can't even tell the individual businesses unless you zoom into a higher resolution, because so many businesses accept Goldback these days. But if you want to get some free publicity, free advertising, and attract some customers who are into sound money, you can sign up at absolutely no cost to be featured on this list. And in addition, you will receive a silverback that's graded. And if you are in one of the states that has a new Goldback, like Florida is one, Arizona is one, there's a couple others, you will receive a limited early release gold back as well, right? And also, my understanding is that if you live in a state that doesn't currently have gold backs and you sign your business up, you'll get the silver back now. And then if your state gets gold backs, you'll get a free limited early release gold back as well once that becomes available in your area. And also, if you want your state to get gold backs, you want to get a gold back with your state on it, signing up as a business is one of the best ways to do that, because it tells Goldback where there's a lot of interest in their products. Now, another great thing that you're doing here is you are supporting sound money, and you can get paid in sound money. Now, don't just go sign up just to get your hands on some free gold and silver. I expect to actually accept Goldbacks as payment, but why not? I mean, Goldbacks have performed very well. Look, right now they're at 1046. And when I started stacking Goldbacks, they were a lot cheaper than that. And I wanted to give OZR Drafting and Design a shout out. This is a company that signed up their business to receive Goldbacks as payment. And they put me, here's the Become a Distributor page. So you go here, Become a Merchant on the Goldback page. That's what you click. Become a Merchant. Takes you to this page. You go down, fill out your information, and then you can put myself as a referrer. So how did you hear about us? They used to have a referral line, but I guess you can just put, how did you hear about us? Put Smart Silver Stacker, and then I will receive a gold back or a silver back as well, and I'll give you a shout out. If you mention to me in a comment or an email that you signed up with me as your referrer, OZR Drafting. So thank you, OZR Drafting and Design, for signing up with me as a referrer. And, I'll give you the shout out just like this one. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get to the geopolitical news. So, of course, as we head into this weekend, one of the reasons that you're seeing silver catching a bid is geopolitical risk premium, right? The U.S. and Iran concluded their peace negotiations, or the most recent round of their peace negotiations in Geneva yesterday. And I mean, they didn't come to an agreement. It's not looking good, right? And if you look at the chart of oil, this is what's happening, right? WTI spot has broken out, come back down. There was some talk of maybe they had reached an agreement. I think this was the Oman foreign minister had made some positive comments, and you saw the oil price come down, but turned out, no, they didn't reach a deal. It got higher, retested the breakout level, and now it's bounced again, right, as we head into the weekend. And I mean, here's the most recent update. This is just what Al Jazeera is reporting. They said, since resuming talks last month, the U.S. has said it wants Iran to dismantle its nuclear infrastructure entirely, limit its arsenal of ballistic missiles, and stop supporting regional allies. Now, while Tehran has shown flexibility about discussing limitations on the enrichment of uranium for civilian use, it has so far treated missiles and proxies as non-negotiables. On Friday, China told its citizens to evacuate from Iran as soon as possible, and the U.S. authorized the departure of non-emergency embassy staff from Israel, same order Washington issued for the U.S. mission in Lebanon earlier this week. Canada, India, UK, and Poland have also issued similar orders. So what we're seeing here is that two of the points that the U.S. is insisting on in these negotiations are a non-starter for Tehran. That is the ballistic missiles and also its regional allies, Hezbollah, etc. So, maybe they can come to some kind of nuclear agreement, but it seems extremely unlikely that Iran is going to capitulate on these other terms. So, minimum, I think we're going to see U.S. strikes in Iran. Perhaps it could devolve into a war. Now, look, I mean, hopefully cooler heads prevail. I don't think any of us are going to benefit if this turns into a shooting war. But, I mean, when you hear that China is evacuating its citizens, when you see the U.S. authorizing the departure of staff from neighboring countries, then this is a real sign that things are about to kick off. It could come as early as this weekend. Now, my understanding is that, despite the fact that they didn't come to an agreement, there was some talk of, making progress at these meetings. It doesn't sound to me like there's much progress, but, anything could happen here. And it was last Thursday that Donald Trump gave a 10 to 15 day deadline. So maybe they'll have another round of talks. They are currently scheduled to have a round of talks in Vienna on Friday, a week from today. But it's also possible that we could see this thing kick off before that day even rolls around. I mean, if you remember the initial strikes of the 12-day conflict, they occurred in the midst of, quote unquote, peace negotiations with the Iranians. So the fact that they're in talks is no promise that things aren't going to kick off here. And, again, I'm not trying to sound ghoulish. I'm certainly not hoping for a conflict to break out. We're all going to be worse off. But if it does, you can expect the price of WTI crude here to skyrocket, and also the price of gold and silver safe haven assets to catch a major bid, right? So it may very well be that on Monday morning, we wake up and we see much, much higher prices for gold and silver. Again, we're going to get higher gold and silver anyway because the currency is being massively debased. I mean, just look at what's happening with gold, right? Consolidation, breakout, consolidation, breakout, consolidation, breakout, consolidation, breakout. I mean, this is a very predictable pattern now. The writing is on the wall for the dollar and for the metals. But if you want to talk about a catalyst that will supercharge this move higher, the breakout of a war in the Middle East could very well be it. And from a technical standpoint, the metals, the commodities, energy, it's all looking like it is higher from here, which is not a good sign for the peace process. Anyway, let me know what you think about the topics that we covered in today's video. Consider, if you are a business owner, going over to the Goldback page and just clicking this Become a Merchant button, signing up. You'll get some free gold and silver. And don't forget, when you do, go ahead. Oh, here we go. How did you hear about us? Name of refer. I didn't see this on the page previously, but this is where you want to put Smart Silver Stacker right here, and then shoot me a message or leave a comment, and I will mention you and your business in a future video, or I will do my best to do that. So what I've been doing is businesses that do this, they'll leave me a comment, shoot me an email, and I'll try to include you in a live stream or a video. And then periodically, what I'm going to do with Goldback, I did this fairly recently, like a month or two ago. I'll ask them for a list of the businesses, and I'll do like a more comprehensive shout out to mention everybody and try to make sure that I don't leave anybody out. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe and happy stacking. It's really never been a better time to be a stacker. And I really appreciate everybody who tunes into these live streams. Have a good weekend, everyone. Stay safe.